right. And happy Friday, everybody. And welcome back to the National Veterans Chamber of Commerce radio show. This is the network where we bring on phenomenal veterans and sponsors and just different organizations from all over the world. So thank you for tuning in with us today. We want you to definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're also on Roku and we're streaming live on multiple platforms. So thank you for tuning in today. I want to thank our backstage. We have Tammy, who is our producer of the show. And then we also have our executive director. We want to give a shout out to Joe Molina. And then, as I always say, I want to say hi to Dolly. She is my co-host. She does some shows and I do other shows. So we kind of share the responsibility meeting with all these phenomenal people. So definitely we want to hear your questions live. If you have any, questions, feel free to put them in the chat and we will certainly get those addressed for you and have our guest who we have today will get those answered. And it looks like, let's see. Okay. We're going to have a second segment today too, I believe. So we'll make sure that we have that in the middle, actually. So we'll go for a few minutes with our first guest. And I want to go ahead and introduce him. And he is coming to us from New York. And today we have Angel Cardena. And I hope I said that correctly. Angel is a former Marine. He spent 4 years in the Marines. And also he spent 6 years in the Air Force Reserve. And he, like I mentioned, he is a veteran who is a licensed loan officer with Cardinal Financial. And he's here today to share with us his extraordinary experience in the military, what he's up to these days. And hopefully he'll be able to help some of our veterans and military who are out there that are, maybe wanting to start something new or do something different in their life. So I want to go ahead and welcome Angel onto the show. Hi, Angel. How are you?
Hi, Shelly. I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing phenomenal. And thank you so much for being here today and happy Friday.
Happy Friday, yes.
Yeah. So I know where I am. It's kind of gloomy. How is it there in New York?
It's actually sunny today. It's pretty nice.
It's sunny.
Nice. Yeah.
Well, we sent our California weather to you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we haven't had such great weather in the past couple of days, but it's thanks for sending that over.
You're welcome. Well, we're going to get right into this. And, first off and foremost, I want to say thank you so much for your service. We salute you. We appreciate, your family is part of this too. So we just want to extend our appreciation to you and your family and your service. Yes, of course. And we're going to get right into this. So why don't we start with having you tell us a little bit about you, and then we're going to get into some questions about your experience with the military. And I know you got out. You ended your career in the military in 2009, so it's a little ways away. However, you've got a lot of things that you've accomplished since then, and we certainly want to talk about all of that. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Shelly. I'm very excited to be here. Again, like Shelly said, my name is Angel Cartagena. I'm from New York. I joined the military right out of high school, joined the Marines. I did 4 years active as an engineer. And then I switched over to the Air Force. I did 6 years in the reserves as a military police. Did a couple of deployments. My last deployment was to Iraq. And after that, I said, you know what? I decided to, part ways. I felt like, I did my time and I moved on. I got introduced to the mortgage business around that time when I was in the Air Force. And it was very interesting because I had no clue about real estate, mortgages, but it was a very intriguing industry, and what I gathered was that my experience in the military helped me in the mortgage business as far as being organized and taking on different tasks and stuff like that. So and then I found out about the VA loans and stuff like that, which I was like even more intrigued about it. So
because you want to help are veterans. So
Correct. Correct.
totally understandable. Yeah.
Correct. So yeah,
Yeah.
so my experience in the military definitely crossed over, and has helped me tremendously in the mortgage business as well. So
Yeah. Well, we're happy that you were able to find, a career that you're passionate about, and not only that, you're helping people to get into homes, and that's always a
correct.
good feeling when you're helping families with, and our military families at that. Yeah. So, can you share a pivotal moment or an experience from your time in the military that significantly influenced your approach to leadership or problem solving?
Wow. Okay, that's a great question. Yeah. So we again, I played different roles in the military, as I went up the ranks. My last rank was staff sergeant in the Air Force. Uh,
Oh,
so two pivotal moments was when I was in the Marine Corps. Uh, I was stationed out in Japan, and they put me pretty much in charge of a big unit,
mm,
and that's when I had to kind of put on those boots and take charge. And I was in charge of a big warehouse, and about 60 Marines, and
oh my
it was
goodness.
very challenging, but it was also like a growth experience. It was a growth moment for me. And then when I went to Iraq with the Air Force in
Yeah.
2007, 2008, um, I also took on some leadership roles there. So those, especially overseas in Iraq, was uh, that was, to me, it was like,
Gosh.
it was a very pivotal moment, and I
Yeah.
I didn't I
I bet.
didn't I kind of didn't realize the responsibility until I was actually there, and I
Mhm.
was able to kind of take on some big responsibilities. We we had to train some of the locals and stuff like that, local police department out there. So it was very challenging, but also,
Mm,
again, another big pivotal moment in the military.
yeah.
So I took that with me, and it definitely helped me to be where I'm at today.
Well, and especially being responsible for 60 Marines, and they've got a lot of adrenaline and, testosterone and,
Yes,
other things that, keep them very, eager to learn and really, get in there and do the work that they signed up for,
yes,
right?
yes.
What was your transition like, when you went from, being in the Air Force, ending it, in the Air Force and into civilian life? What was that like, Angel?
Well, for those veterans that are listening, and those are, whether you're active duty, reserves, right? You get a pamphlet, you're checking out, and it's like, hey, here you go. Here's some resources, kind of figure it out, right?
Yeah.
So, um, luckily, I've always stayed in contact with a lot of members that I served with. So one thing with that transition is that unless you have some guidance, right, so from some of the members that maybe have gotten out and um, were able to start a new career or stuff like that, and they can guide you and with some good resources. With
Yeah.
which there is a lot. Unfortunately, I feel like they're underutilized,
Mm.
but there are definitely a lot of resources. And my transition, it was challenging, but because, again, in the military, a lot of the things are very accessible, but sometimes it is challenging. But when you have other counterparts that can help you kind of transition, that's what helped me
Big help.
transition.
Yes, I bet. Did you have a mentor that, that kind of, because I know that's like you said, you get pamphlets and it's like, okay, here you go. Did you have a mentor or someone that kind of guided you, into civilian lifestyle?
I did.
Mhm.
So when I transitioned from active duty, was a little more challenging. Now with the reserves, because the reserves is, you're working your civilian job and then you're also in the military. I did
Yeah.
have some local service members that I served with that
Mm.
were here in New York, and pretty much helped me out with a lot of resources that were available. So that transition was a little easier once I completely was out the military.
Yeah, yeah. So, here you are, you get into, the mortgage business and you're helping our veterans, and their families and you're doing VA loans. What do you enjoy most about the work that you do? Not comparing it to the military, looking at it from the perspective of, okay, you did your service and now you're doing a different type of service. So,
Right.
tell us about that.
So what's fulfilling to me, I mean, I put myself in their shoes, right?
Mm.
Um, so I purchased my first home in 2019, and I used my VA loan.
Oh, yeah.
So that experience helped me, uh, you know, it like like now I have the experience, so now I can talk from a different perspective. I've
Exactly.
always enjoyed this business, and the fulfillment of telling a client, whether it's a veteran or a civilian, hey, you're clear to close, so you're getting the keys to your home soon.
Mhm.
That in itself is extremely fulfilling. But when I purchased my home with my wife and my family, uh,
Yeah.
it kind of gave me a different perspective, and it just kind of enhanced the mission of
Oh,
home ownership, especially
I'm
with veterans, because a lot of veterans don't understand. I'll tell you just a brief story. I had a
yeah.
gentleman that I grew up with in my old neighborhood in the Bronx
Oh, in the Bronx.
that
Yeah.
he was a veteran. He served 18 years. He didn't get to retire fully, but he did 18 years. He had
Mhm.
no idea that the VA loan was available for him.
Oh,
And he called me because my mom was like, "Hey, you need to call Angel. He does loans and stuff like that." So we were
yeah.
talking, and he's talking about different types of loans. And I said, Tony, you're a veteran, right? He goes, yeah, but I never looked into it. I don't know. I don't think I qualify. So I said, listen, let's do some homework. Let's do some research. Comes to find out, he had his certificate of eligibility. He had no clue. Long story short,
Oh,
my wife and I helped him find a home. They
oh,
closed, and he was beyond like emotional and
I
grateful.
bet.
And
Yeah.
those moments that like fulfill like what I do. Yes, we have challenges, and that's just life, and it's in general. But it's those stories that just kind of
That make it come
going
full
and
circle.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, congratulations on that. And congratulations on you getting your home for you and your wife and your family. And, and we just have about a minute left,
okay.
Angel. And I wanted to find out just what is next for you?
That is another great question. So, so what's next? I mean, my ultimate goal is to to open up a like my own branch. I'm part of
Oh,
a great branch now.
hmm,
Like I mentioned to you when we spoke briefly earlier, my wife is also a realtor.
yeah.
So we definitely have some big goals to help more families,
Wonderful.
get into homes and stuff like that. We help a lot of veterans transition from state to state sometimes, and that's a huge
Mm,
step. So we've kind of mastered that process.
yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much what my next goal is to
That's
hopefully open up a branch one day, and and keep this train going.
Yeah, keep your eye on the target and
Yes,
and it will come through, and through fruition and I'm sure that you do very well, Angel. And especially if you and your wife are, kind of working together and helping and supporting each other.
yes,
Yeah. Well, it
yeah.
is when Oh, go
It's
ahead. I'm sorry.
no, no, no. I'm just saying it's that one of the things, the biggest blessings that I got in this business was meeting my wife. I actually met
Oh,
her at an open house. She was a realtor, and
yeah.
it just
That is really
it just happened.
cool.
So yeah.
Oh my gosh. Do you want to tell us her first name real quick?
Her name is Jarlin.
Jarlin?
Jarlin, correct.
Jarlin.
Yes,
Oh,
Jarlin.
well, tell her we said hello and
I will.
we wish you both the best. And thank you so much for being on the show, Angel. We're so proud of you. And again, thank you for your service and for sharing because I'm sure that there are some veterans out there that, that heard you today that will probably just, take some action and make a difference. So thank you.
Absolutely.
So
Thank you
much.
so much, Shelly, for having me.
Thank you,
I'm
Angel.
very appreciative, and hopefully I can come back again soon.
Yes, we'd love that. Yeah. All right, Angel. Well, have a great weekend. All right. Well, we just had an interview with Angel, and now we're going to turn it on over to Gary Roman. He is going to have a segment where he will be covering some, actually, an interview with someone, and I know that he'll do a wonderful job. And we're going to turn it over to Gary now, and I'll see you at the end. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. This is Gary Roman, the Veterans Coach, and we're coming to you from Camp Pendleton. I'm very, very fortunate to be able to introduce our guest in just a second. But as you may recall, a lot of my work that I do is helping those that are in the military, help them prepare for their next mission, if you will, because they're completing their first mission and probably the most important mission of their entire life. Now they're starting the next mission as a civilian. So today I have got honored to introduce you to William Bain. William and I just completed transition class. He's been in my class this week. We just concluded the mock interviews, and William agreed to be my guest on this segment. And compared to Angel, I mean, now William is beginning that process that Angel has already gone through, trying to figure out what's next for him when it comes to his career. So I'm going to turn the mic over to William. And William, why don't you just give us a little bit of what you've done in the Marines and a little bit about yourself.
Okay, awesome. So I've been in the Marine Corps 19 and a half years now. I enlisted January 2005 out of Portland, Oregon, which if anybody's familiar with Portland, not a lot of Marines run around up there. I didn't even know what a Marine was. So that's kind of interesting how I went down that path. I enlisted as a combat engineer. I deployed to Iraq a few times in support of 2nd Recon Battalion, 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines, 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines, before I went to the wing, where I deployed to Afghanistan with the Marine Wing Support Squadron. From there, I went to the group as an engineer with 7th Engineer Support Battalion. And then from 2013 up until today, I've been on recruiting duty, starting in Clovis, California, going to Merced, California, Fresno, California, then up to Sacramento for recruiting for the officer side, before transitioning down here to San Diego, where I've had a couple billets at the MEPS, working at district in my current billet as the marketing chief. So handling all the advertisement for basically the West Coast, and kind of serving as a liaison for the Marine Corps to our civilian marketing partner, which is Wonderman Thompson. So that's kind of brought me to here today.
Well, Bill, doesn't he look like a kid? He's got that youthful look, and I wish I had that. But nevertheless, he's had an interesting journey. And the thing that we've been working on this week is answering the question, what's next for William? You're married and have kids?
Yes, 3 kids.
3 kids.
Yeah.
And, his next mission is pretty important because he's got a number of people to, in essence, take care of. So we've been examining some career options. William, would you like to share some of those options we've been talking about this week?
Yeah, I could do that. So right now in the process, I feel like I'm a little bit behind on the power curve. And talking to some of my fellow Marines this week, is I have the same feeling that everybody has. I would love to have my next career already set in place and interviewed and hired, and just waiting to exit the Marine Corps and step right into that role. But unfortunately, that's not the case as of right now. So right now, kind of gathering information on all the resources available. That's been my main focus of the week. I feel a little bit more comfortable as I've learned more about the resources, and Gary helping us out with that as well. Being on recruiting duty for the past 11 years, I've had the kind of unique opportunity to rub elbows with not just military, but a lot of people, whether that be in the education system, whether that be in the courthouses, the hospitals, whatever the case may be. So I've had a decent amount of opportunities to network. But as far as my transition, kind of getting my resume put together and kind of looking for different opportunities out there, as well as taking advantage of all the resources that we've learned about this week, and seeing how I can leverage that to help me prepare.
Well, actually, I got your resume right here. You go by Bill, right? Or what?
I've gone by, it depends when you met me, and I've gone by a lot worse.
One of the things that William is thinking about is possibly starting his own business. As a whole, about 22% of veterans end up starting their own business. That's a pretty high percentage for those that have served, that they want to have their own business, but they got to know how to go about it, because only 20% are successful. So it's a hard, it's a challenging way to begin a career. But I know William is thinking about that. You want to talk a little bit about that, what you're considering with you and your wife?
Yeah, I could talk about that. So, my wife is currently a licensed marriage family therapist, and she started out working for kind of like a in-house treatment facility. As we've seen that, she now has transitioned in more of kind of like telehealth, controlling her own schedule, just working on various platforms. So as I've seen her do that, and her seeing what it feels like to be your own boss and not have to, report to anybody if you have a dentist appointment or whatever the case may be, we're kind of seeing the flexibility and what running your own business and being your own boss brings. So at this point in my life, after being 20 years in the military, the idea of working for somebody that hasn't been to corporal's course, I'm like, man, do they even know leadership, right? So looking to see if we could leverage her education and skills that she's picked up along the way, as well as mine, whether that be recruiting or the marketing gig that I'm in right now. Looking to leverage that really to carve out a route where we can grow something that's our own, and not kind of falling in or requesting anybody to kind of help take care of us or anything like that.
Well, we're kind of winding out of time here, but one of the things, the reason I wanted to interview Bill is because he's got so many options. And one of the things that happens to military vets before they get out, or right after they get out, is they don't know what they want to do. And sometimes they accept positions just to have positions. But I've been very impressed with Bill and his forward thinking. Actually, he was one of the people I just interviewed in class, did a tremendous job. He knows very well how to communicate, and he knows how to connect. And that's very important. It would make a tremendous team with he and his wife starting their own business. Now, we do have a course for him that he will be taking in a couple of weeks called Entrepreneur Course, and it's primarily designed to help veterans know how to plan to develop their business, done by the Small Business Administration. So, Bill, I want to wish you the very best in your future, and thank you so much for joining me after class and taking part in this podcast. So thank you so much.
Gary, thank you. Pleasure.
All right. And there you have it. That was wonderful, Gary. Thank you so much for sharing William with us. And William, we wish you and your wife much success. And hopefully you'll become entrepreneurs in the near future. So thank you so much for sharing your story and your transition. And it sounds like you've got a bright future ahead. So you just heard it with Gary Roman. And we want to thank our guest, Angel Cardena, and I hope I pronounced it correctly. But that's all for today, ladies and gentlemen. And we hope that you go back and listen to this if you didn't have a chance to watch the show. We're here every Friday. So we want to wish everyone a wonderful weekend. And please make sure you subscribe. Remember, we're on Roku, YouTube, all of the platforms. So you could catch us just about anywhere. Thank you so much for joining us and have a wonderful weekend.